Hello, everybody. This is Mitch DeVries with May Group Realtors, Remax of Grand Rapids. I've got Megan Altieri, a friend of mine, also local teacher, artist, and now book writer. She's got a lot of accomplishments. Recently posted a book called Sonder, which I have right here, which I was one of the first ones to buy it at one of her book signings that she did when she was first coming out with it. So just recently, this book became published in the last, I would say, couple weeks, you'd say, or
Right.
and so yeah, let's just start out. Megan, how about you just introduce yourself, and kind of we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah. Like Mitch said, my name is Megan Constance Altieri. I'm an educator, high school art teacher, and an artist, and I guess now an author. Um, yeah. Hello, everybody.
So the book Sonder, a word that I've never used before until I've seen this book and your ArtPrize piece. Can you tell us, to those of us who don't know what this word means, what does it mean to you, and what is the dictionary definition?
Right. So a word that I also had not heard until 4 years ago. Actually, it was one of my students that made me aware of the word during a project where they were like coming up with really like cliche ideas, and I was like, you know what, everyone like get out a dictionary or like find a website. We're gonna like research words we've never heard before, and this came up, which would then sort of come up again in my life when I started this project. So Sonder is the realization that everyone has a life as vivid and complex as your own life. So that feeling when you're like walking down the street and you see someone, you're like, oh my gosh, that dude looks like my dad. Or you see like a handwritten note on the ground and it's just like, or you overhear a conversation and you're just in that state of like, wow, strangers are people too, sort of that
Mhm.
sense.
All right, kind of living in the moment and living in realizing that other people are kind of the same as you. I mean,
Right, right.
everybody's got their own story, so to speak. So I guess so. Sonder, can you just give us a little bit of an overview on how it came to be? Before the book, kind of the whole story.
Right. So the way this all started is I began recording overheard conversations that I was hearing from strangers, and I would take these snippets and I would hand print them on like garments of clothing that sort of captured the essence of these speakers. And the purpose was that's right, the purpose was to like inspire curiosity and empathy for one another. And I say curiosity because curiosity is also innately empathetic and a lot more natural to us sometimes than empathy. But you realize in the act of curiosity, oftentimes we are empathetic. We just need sort of like a catalyst to explore that. So sometimes hearing someone else's life just in a snippet is that catalyst. So that concept grew into a large scale outdoor installation, and since then it has evolved into a coffee table book.
Okay, so that outdoor installation, where was that?
So that was at ArtPrize 10, so ArtPrize in 2018. Um, so yeah, I needed, as I started building this work and printing these I was building this inventory of clothing with stories on them, and I was like, okay, what's going to happen next with this? So I started sort of like imagining, like, how do I present these stories, which isn't like, totally bizarre and out of context. And I sort of imagined them being on a clothesline. And like a clothesline, like, yeah, airing out our dirty laundry, but also like using a clothesline is incredibly vulnerable. Like you're putting your personal items on display accidentally, sort of, for like you're like trusting the world not to judge you or not to or to inviting them to think about you in some way. So
Yeah.
that felt appropriate to me. So in need of an outdoor space, I pitched that idea to ArtPrize and they accepted my installation, and then the Grand Rapids Public Museum accepted my application to exhibit on their lawn.
That's awesome. And I remember when that happened. That was right after I'd come back from my travels and ran into Tim, your younger brother, and he was like, "Oh, you got to check out this piece that Megan has been working at so hard on." And I just remember just flocks and flocks of people, and like looking at the grass and just all the dead grass in between the clotheslines.
The dead grass is pretty cool.
It was so much fun to just to kind of see everybody just captured by the idea of just kind of reading and kind of getting that. And so I know you touched a little bit about the whole eavesdropping. Why eavesdropping, and why, I guess the clothing and picturing, and how did you pick the clothes that you put it on?
Sure. Yeah. So why eavesdropping? So I wanted to get this like sort of sample size of humanity, or like this like sample of humanity. And I wanted to tell stories of strangers, but also like when you ask someone to tell you a story, they're going to give you something that they think is insightful or funny or interesting. And I didn't want that. I wanted something like raw. So instead of soliciting people for their stories, I just listened. And I feel like there is more room somehow for empathy in that presentation of a stranger's story. Something about like overhearing something, or sort of like that accidental breach of confidence makes you feel, maybe it's the candidness, it makes you feel a little more empathetic and maybe willing to think about the multiple contexts of those conversations and all that they could mean about that person's life.
Yeah, it's pretty much unfiltered.
Right, exactly.
And so kind of going back to of just kind of how this whole project evolved. It started with ArtPrize, and how did it go from ArtPrize to a book like this?
So ArtPrize was amazing. It was a very cool experience. It took me 2 weeks to install it. I saw like thousands of people came to see it. I talked to hundreds of people. It ended up winning the public vote, public installation vote, which was like super exciting. And then like 2 days later, I leveled it with a chainsaw, and I was just like, oh, well, okay, I guess that happened and is over. But I was like, wow, that the purpose of this was really to like reach a lot of people. And I was so excited because I did reach a lot of people like in the context of my life. But I'm like, wow, I really wish that this project was more consumable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I sort of conceptualized this coffee table book idea.
Okay. Well, it looks phenomenal, and it's so professionally done, and like it's how many pages long? Like a couple hundred pages long. I mean, it just keeps
400.
going. 400 pages long. But I mean, I've been flipping through pages on a daily basis, and I'm just captured by every single page and kind of reading it. And, I love that you do bring the context in the back, but I just when you look at one of the pages and you kind of just sit there and think to yourself, what does this mean to me? And then you can go back and kind of figure out what the context of it was. So also just with ArtPrize, I mean, so what made you submit this to ArtPrize?
So my art before this project is like pretty niche and like quirky, and like I wouldn't just be like, oh, your grandma should check this out. Like my work can be pretty strange and with like weird. And this work, like, yes, of course I would consider it art. But also it's like more than art. It's about humanity, and ArtPrize is like, it just attracts people from everywhere who aren't necessarily art connoisseurs. They're just like people who are like looking for an artistic experience and looking to be art connoisseurs for like a day or a weekend. And I was like, I just wanted like the broadest possible audience, and ArtPrize was that. So ArtPrize was perfect to just like expose as many people as possible to as many people as possible, which is the project's people. So I just like wanted that connection as vast as I could possibly make it.
That's awesome. And no, you did a phenomenal job doing that. And and then kind of taking that whole idea and then putting it into the book. I gotta imagine there's got to be, taking all of that and putting it into a book. How difficult was that? What are some of the challenges that you had to?
Oh yeah, it was horrible. It was brutal. I mean, it's
You
just like,
must be so thankful that it's done.
right. And I'm sure just like anybody who like flips houses, they're like, and then I'll put a new floor in. So it's fine. And then you're like, oh my God, why did I think I could do this? Same thing. It was just like every detail was like ended up being like pretty grueling. Or there was like 37 options for like everything I could possibly do that like financial, like, you know, consequences or like quality consequences. I was just like, I'm so over my head in this. But like Google everything, had amazing people helping me along the way. But yeah, the hardest part for sure was just like the writing process of like one day thinking like, oh, this is such a great like concept, I can't wait to write about this, and then like coming to it the next day and being like, what, that is a terrible idea, this is not insightful, it was just like a caffeine induced spiral that I was on, like scrap everything I did yesterday. And then like, so balancing that with also like coming in back into your work the next day and being like, no, calm down, that was a good idea, like there's something that can be, there's something that we can build off that. Yeah, so
We
just
don't have
like
to throw it all away. We can work with it.
right. And then like the confidence, so then you decide what you want to put in the book and then you have to present it with confidence. So like for me there's a lot of like taboo things in here, or like not even taboo, but just like things that are hard to talk about, like talking about race, like inequality, like as a white woman, I'm like, do I have the space, will I be accepted to talk about this issue and with how much grace, and like mental health issues that are like really touchy subjects for people and really sensitive. And I think we have a tendency to like, when we venture into those topics, to like over explain and like make sure there's no room to like be offensive or to like for anyone to misread you. But at the same time, this project was about leaving gaps and leaving space for people to interpret and people to like build their ideas. So there was like this need for me to like guide the reader initially, and then I would always have to like rein it in and be like, just like set it there, and like, and you also want to qualify things. I always found myself like wanting to use language like, I think, or like maybe, or you might disagree, and like you can, but like take it or leave it. But like no one wants to read a book that's just full of qualifiers.
Yeah.
So those were challenges. Yeah.
Okay. So on the flip side of that, so some of the challenges, what was your favorite part about writing a book?
So my favorite part about writing the book was like coming to moments where I'm like just deciding, okay, I'm going to use this content, I'm moving forward with it, and like being done with that, like, and just being like, oh, I'm free of that page. Building the book in its entirety, my favorite part was for sure illustrating these stories. So these stories are, some of them are like very straightforward, some of them are a little quirky or whimsical or like unexpected, but all of the stories, regardless of the tone of the story, are illustrated with these photographs that are pretty abstract. And so I composed all these photographs and like built scenes and wardrobe and props, and I had my friends be the models. So I was just like having them slide around in like pancake batter and putting raw pizza dough on their face and doing handstands. And it was.
And there's nothing, they can't say no because you're the
They
director.
can't say no. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was so stressed that like they couldn't have said no. They would not have done that.
That's awesome.
I'm like, you need to put the pizza dough on your face, or else the book is ruined and it'll be your fault.
Yeah, exactly. That is a very tough thing to say no to. But so I guess how can we follow along with your story of this book? Where can we purchase it? I mean, I know you're probably on a lot of social media pages. What do you have out there right now?
Yeah, so especially after COVID, the debut of the book was supposed to be at a Saugatuck Film Festival in March, and that didn't happen. So I'm not like a great marketer. So I'm like, I got to get an Instagram rolling. Luckily, we had already started that process, so we had some content in the works. But now we're just like slowly releasing that, and the Instagram page is turning out nicely. I think we've got a lot of involvement and feedback. So if you want to follow Sonder on Instagram, that is at Sonder_articles. And if you'd like to buy the book, you can buy the book on meganconstancealtieri.com, or there's a link in the bio on the Instagram as well.
Okay. And what a well done website too. I mean, just it looks so professional, and I mean, it looks, you definitely have put a lot of time into all of this.
Yeah,
It looks like you can
that
also
was all my
put note
partner.
cards and things too. Where I have to figure out how to get to that page.
There you go. You just hit purchase book, or yeah,
Purchase the book, illustrations, but it's so creative. I love it. It's definitely a lot of fun to just kind of look through, and then it's always great to see. Oh, look at, opened up a page. You and your brother. You know, I know it's great for me, but also great for just kind of the whole consumer of just, I mean, an awesome coffee table book to have just about anybody stop by and take a look at, and
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
relate to in one way or another. So, well, Megan, if you have anything else that you'd like to share, please do. Otherwise, you know, you can follow her Instagram page, check her website out, buy the book. I think it's only about $45, very affordable. And yeah, just check out 400 pages of Sonder. So having a great
whimsical,
time.
weird, wacky humanity right there.
So great catching up with you, and best of luck.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Awesome.